Hi, and welcome to the 13th episode of the Running with Kelly podcast, where we talk about running, racing, and relationships. Today's topic is mental health, how running affects mental health, and how different mental exercises and practices can improve our running experience. My name is Kelly, and I'm an RRCA Level 2 certified running coach, and joining me as co-host is my best friend and my running partner, Alex Kroll. Alex, thanks for joining me, and I'm excited about this topic.
Hey, Kelly, thanks for having me as usual. I'm excited too. Our guest is a fantastic person I got to know a little bit over the summer with our Heritage Learn to Run program. And she's going to have some great information to share with all our listeners and viewers today that I think will really be important for a lot of runners. So I think it'll be a great show.
Yeah, I think so too. And yes, I got to know Sam at work. So let's bring her in. Samantha Hancy is a behavior therapist at Heritage Christian Services, and we've been working together for a little over a year. I think we've been working together. She has her bachelor's in psychology from Niagara University. She's earned her master's in clinical mental health counseling from St. John Fisher. She played D1 lacrosse while she was at Niagara, and she's a runner, avid runner, and she mentored with our Learn to Run program this summer, and we're really excited to have her do that again. So welcome to the Running with Kelly podcast, Sam.
Thanks, Kelly and Alex. I'm so excited to be here, not only to spend a little bit of time with you guys, but to talk about something that I'm really passionate about. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I know we talked when we saw each other over the summer. We've talked about mental health, and we talked about some of your experience working with teams and as a lacrosse player yourself. So why don't you tell us about how this became a passion of yours?
Sure. So initially, I really wanted to play at the collegiate level. And as we all know, not everybody gets the opportunity to do that. So when I was given the opportunity not only to play at the collegiate level, but to play at a really high level at Division I at Niagara, I was really proud of that. And when I got there, I quickly realized that being a Division I athlete is a full-time job. Not only is it the exercise and the sport, it's the film watching, it's the being a student athlete, and trying to figure out and navigate that as a young person, a young adult, just trying to find herself at that time. And what happened is that I really kind of fell out of love with exercise and with sport in general. And I think that a lot of experiences are similar from a lot of the women that I talk to when it comes to being a student athlete, and that it takes a toll on us, not only physically but mentally. And that's really what drove me to get into psychology, mental health in general. And then I had the opportunity to take a sports psychology class at Niagara, and it really just put all of the pieces together for me. And at that, I decided I was going to go into mental health counseling to help those with similar struggles. And then I found my passion with those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I took it a little bit in a different direction, but I'm so happy that I've been able to be in the mental health field and a volunteer capacity, not only as a running mentor, but I've assisted in youth hockey programs with a girls team with guided imagery and mental health and sport. So yeah, that's really what brought me here today. But running really helped me refine my passion and my love for sport, and the community this past summer especially really helped to drive that for me even more. I knew I loved it, but the community really heightened that for me this summer.
I love it. And running with a group of people like-minded. Alex and I did a podcast when we first started about friendships and conversations that you have with your co-runners and everything. And the community of runners is very strong.
Yeah.
And I know, so I looked up, there was a Runner's World poll that they had done just earlier this month. 90.5% of their readers said that they run to look after their mental health, which I thought was interesting. And they had said, they have less depression and anxiety, reduced stress. So I was wondering if you could, I think most people understand that running is physically healthy for you.
Yeah.
It helps cardiovascularly. It helps even with your memory and that kind of stuff. What can it do from a mental health standpoint? Like, why are so many runners running to look after their mental health?
Yeah, well, that is an unreal statistic. I love that a lot of people have found running to be a coping skill for their own mental health. Not only it doesn't always have to be somebody that may be experiencing clinical depression or clinical anxiety, but just a coping skill to have more calmness in our life and just an overall sense of mental well-being. So that's a really cool statistic. I hadn't seen that one yet. But overall, like you said, I think most people would say, oh, exercise is really good for your mental health, whether a doctor's told you that, a psychologist, somebody that you love in general that just kind of knows of that statistic, because it's right. But there's some reasons why. And I think that overall, runners in particular like running, the exercise of running in general is seen as more of a higher intensity exercise, versus maybe a lower intensity exercise, which is walking. But with that is that you just would require more lower intensity. You can still get the same effects, but it would just have to be for a longer period of time, which I'll get into in a little bit. But overall, runners are going to have lower depression, lower anxiety, reduced stress, and an increased psychological well-being, and then an increased overall mood, which who doesn't want that? And really an increased self-esteem, which leads to decreased depression and anxiety in general. But how it works. So specifically, our body releases during exercise, running in particular, endocannabinoids, which are found in the bloodstream. They're similar to endorphins, so like norepinephrine, serotonin. They move easily through the cell barrier. They occur naturally in our body, but they promote that short-term psychoactive effects that's going to lead to that decreased anxiety and feelings of just overall calm. So those endocannabinoids are the things that really are released through running. Sometimes you hear of like that runner's high, and that's sort of what's happening in our body is during that time. So it's really cool. I know you mentioned actually running, exercise being good for our memory and our overall brain health, and that's a really cool statistic too. So running exercise can produce actually new brain cells called neurogenesis. And so that literally is kind of creating new brain cells, new connections within our brain. That's not only going to help prevent cognitive decline. It's one of the best things that you can do to actually prevent cognitive decline, is exercise, besides kind of exercising your brain through various mental exercises, such as like memory games and things like that. But exercise is one of the best things that you can do for that. It actually specifically works with the hippocampus, which is associated with memory and learning. It increases actually in volume. So that's going to improve working memory and focus, and improved task switching abilities, and an overall elevated mood. I know we kind of come to that same topic over and over again, but it's just something that is obviously important. So it's going to be mentioned quite a few times during this podcast.
So, quick question: if like the multitasking, I'm great at attempting it at multitasking, and usually I'm failing at something.
Yeah, we're not very good we're not very good multitaskers as human beings. It's just not a thing that we're meant to be good at, really.
No. So if I'm a runner and I'm gaining some of these mental health benefits, right now I'm an injured runner. So right now I'm not running.
Yeah.
And it is driving me insane. I'm trying to find all those healthier things I can be doing in the meantime. But do I lose some of those benefits I had gained mentally? Like
That's a really good question. And I'm so glad you bring that up, because later on, I would love to kind of talk about how some of the imagery can help promote healing, not only healing, but just repairing of muscles, getting over injuries quicker. It's something that is kind of newer in the athlete and exercise field. It's why really elite athletes can come back from injury quicker, because they've kind of realized the mental health benefits of recovery. But I think that's a common question that we get. Of course, when you have an injury and you physically can't go out and move like you once were, you may lose some of that endurance. But if you use some of these tips and tricks that I'll be talking about a little bit later, you'll be able to more quickly get back to where you once were. That's not to say that you're not going to have to go back a couple of steps, but it by no means means that you're back at square one.
Thank goodness.
There's hope.
That's really great. I had a question as I was kind of reviewing your the notes you sent us. You talked about how 15 minutes of higher intensity exercise or 1 hour of low intensity exercise will give you these benefits of like staving off some of the mental health issues, some issues of depression. How many times a week should somebody aim for to get the benefits of that?
Really, that should be daily. So 15 minutes of a higher intensity workout or 1 hour daily. I like to say we all have kind of like that one off day. We can't expect ourselves to do high intensity workouts every single day. High intensity, maybe that's running, maybe that's weightlifting, a couple other things that come to mind, or an hour of lower intensity. The sun is setting faster and I get home from work around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So it's kind of hard for me to get out and do that because I don't love running at nighttime. So that's not to say that it's not going to happen, but ideally you want to get that in daily. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome.
Sam, you can join us on Tuesday nights. We
I
run
know.
the dark together with our lights.
Soccer just ended this past week, so I'm definitely going to have to join them.
Awesome. Well, I'm intrigued to talk.
I'll finally be back on Tuesdays as well, so I'm excited.
Good.
Alex has been,
Bad feeling he's over, but I'm happy to get my Tuesday nights back.
So I know you mentioned that you were going to talk about some imagery and how that can, like, it just oh, we did talk about this for our mental health. I wanted to get to the next slide there of the imagery for runners and other athletes. I found your notes fascinating. I've not seen, like, I've read The Runner's Brain, which talked about imagery and visualization, but can you tell us some about all these different types? I didn't really.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that stuck out in just my learning journey, is this exact thing that we're talking about here. And it's, again, like I said, it's newer to the world of running, athletics, and it's been something that has been an integral part of the success of really elite athletes, and it's trickled down to, you and I, who go out for runs and do some maybe not elite running all the time, but it's trickled down, and I hope to kind of get this information out to as many people as I can because it's so important. So as far as the different types of imagery, I think I was just talking to my sister a little bit earlier about coming on this podcast. She had an injury. She actually went to Niagara and played lacrosse as well. She tore her ACL her sophomore or junior year, which led her to be out for an entire year. And I was telling her, I wish I knew about this before so I could help you with it. And she goes, "What do you mean images? Like an image of my broken knee?" I was like, well, not exactly, but yes, kind of. So I think what people think of mainly is that visual imagery. So really looking and visualizing success. So what it's going to do is it's going to promote enhancement in running, so overall success, and it can even help to recover from injury through that imagery. Really visualizing movement that's going to lead to the ultimate restoration of a muscle or recovery from injury or ultimately success. And I want to take a break there because I think when we think of success, we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to beat that time, to go run further. And I think it's important that we all ask ourselves what success looks like for ourselves, because that is ultimately different for each of us. So it's not always a better time, a better PR. Sometimes it's just a pain-free run or enjoying every moment of a run. I think those are really good goals that I never chose to do until really in my last couple years in running, is focusing on, I want to have fun through an entire run. And I made that a goal one year. So remember, success looks very different for everybody.
Love that.
Yeah. But like literally visualizing yourself crossing a finish line, or visualizing that end point of your run, just whatever success looks like for you. So that's kind of actual visualization and actual imagery. That's that first bullet there of visual. One of my favorites is the emotive imagery. These are those memories that are going to trigger or elicit an emotional response using your senses. So certain songs, that's why a lot of athletes listen to like a pregame warm-up when you hear music playing at professional football games or professional games in general. I know the NBA listens to music throughout the whole game, but high school sports, college sports, we always have those music blasting in the beginning for our warm-ups to really elicit those good memories and success. The national anthem is something that a lot of people will say triggers this emotional response. And that's why a lot of times we think to pair that emotional response we get from the national anthem to success, because we always know that the national anthem is going to be playing prior to sport, before any, race, before any sporting event, it's going to be played. For me, I like to do this in my running playlist. For me, around mile 6 and mile 11, I know I have to get a song in there that's going to push me.
Yep.
You got to know those miles on those long runs that's going to elicit that, okay, you got this. And for me, that's mile 6 and mile 11.
I gotta know what song it is for both of you, because I know Alex, I don't listen to music that often, but I know you do, Alex. So I want to know what your song is, Sam, at mile 11, and you too, Alex.
Let me see if I can find the
I
specific.
can answer that easily while Sam is looking hers up, because it's really, really embarrassing. And I'm going to open this all up. It is Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. When I hear that just gets me going. And I'm so embarrassed that I just shared that. So
no, that's actually a really good one.
Mile 11, man, she's my girl.
Mine changes really every year, but this past running season for me, it was Tick Tick Boom by Sage the Gemini. Yeah, that was really the one that got me through mile 6 and mile 11.
I'll have to add that to some of my playlists, because I now have so many playlists.
Yeah, you definitely do. It's a good one.
Race last week, I did a playlist that was only 30 minutes long. And I was like, if I run out, if like I'm not done before the playlist is done, I'm going to be angry with myself. So it was like I knew where I was based on where my music was.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. It's
like
you can't always listen to music.
I knew I needed to cross the finish line, because it was going to be a mess if I didn't.
Yeah, I know you can't always listen to music depending on what race you're racing, but I always love to have my music playing when I'm running, because again, it elicits that success. I've paired success with certain songs. So when those songs come on, it elicits that memory. It triggers that memory of, okay, you got this. And that's what eventually pushes you through. So that's emotive imagery, something that's going to simulate those emotions that, but you have to pair them. You have to pair the emotional response that you get from success to the song. It's not just, oh, this song is nice, I like this song. Yes, that's one thing. But to really get emotive imagery, you're going to have to do some pairing. So each time you have success in whatever it is that you're doing, a PR, a pain-free run, enjoying every run, you want to then pair that with that song, so that then it elicits that same feeling for you in the future. That's key in the imagery.
For sure. One of the I thought was really interesting was your next set of bullets on kinesthetic imagery. I said that right.
Yes.
And when I that, I got to thinking, like, there are so many little things that I do, like before a race or after a race, that I never really put together, that all fall under that. It's
Yeah.
like mind blowing, really, to think about those little movements and motions that you do that become almost like a ritual.
Exactly, a ritual. And we know everybody, I'm sure we all have rituals that we do, whether it's certain stretches that we do before every run, certain things that we eat, certain things that we do, right? We all have those. But kinesthetic imagery and movement is so interesting, and I found myself doing that over the last couple of years, really implementing this into my practice, my running practice. But this is using movement to stimulate those vivid memories prior to success. Sometimes athletes, I think of some like golfers and other athletes, maybe right after they score a goal or right after they hit a really great shot. They may rub their palms together. So that's something physical that they're pairing now with the success of the great shot or the great goal or the great run, that great feeling that you've now gotten after hitting that PR on a run or just hitting that goal. You're now going to pair something physically, some movement with it. Personally, I do finger tapping. So if I'm at a moment in my run where it's getting really difficult, I'll do finger tapping. So I start my thumb and index finger and I just go down my fingers like this on both hands. It may look funny as I'm running, but it's something that's been able to trigger my brain to stop thinking about how hard this is in the moment and to bring back to elicit that memory of not only success, but it kind of tricks my brain into, okay, now I have to think about my finger tapping instead of the exercise.
Well, I think too, on a lot of those long runs, when things begin to hurt, it's good to have your brain like see something that doesn't yet hurt.
Yeah.
And maybe just those fingers, they don't hurt yet.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of refocuses you on your run and how, and it's that image. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know people probably have seen me doing that on my runs and they're like, what is she doing? But it's been something that I really tried incorporating into my runs, and I found it to be really beneficial. The one thing you want to be mindful of is that we need to associate this movement with that success, and it's going to take mental rehearsal. So you're not just going to do it one time and you're going to be like, okay, this is awesome. With anything, takes practice, and so do these types of guided imagery and imagery in general. So yeah, that is kinesthetic imagery and movement. It's something new that I've been incorporating, and I would love to, hear if you guys have or will implement that into your runs, because it's pretty cool. And it's not something I think a lot of people do yet.
Now, as an injured runner, I'm most interested in this last.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
healing imagery. Tell me what can I do?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people have I think of really Aaron Rodgers, who just had and tore his Achilles on the New York Jets. And, an Achilles injury, that's a pretty serious injury. Same with like ACLs, things like that in sport. But people have been hearing, oh, I think he's going to come back by week 15 or whatever it was. And people are like, how is that possible? And I asked myself, I was like, I wonder if this is part of his recovery process. I haven't looked into it, but I wondered if, people are coming back quicker from injury, potentially because of advancements in medicine and physical therapies and things like that. But I wonder if this is a part of his support through his trainers, which would be kind of interesting to know. But yeah, healing imagery helps to sense and see the transformative process of recovery. So there's a couple things that we want to be mindful of here. The first thing is you really should be and want to receive detailed information about your healing process. So maybe that's colored images of the injury area. When I was talking about my sister earlier, who was like, what do you want me to just look at pictures of my broken knee? And I'm like, kinda. It's part of it, right? Like if you were to go and get an MRI done on your torn, in her case, torn ACL, you would want to see that injury area and then see what your progress looks like. So that could be part of it, is actually seeing it. Information about the healing process. So really step by step, whether that's physical therapy, icing, heating, elevating, stretches, things that you can do at home, all those things, detailed. The more detailed, the better. And then not only that, but an understanding of the reasoning of why behind these certain steps in the healing process. So why this ultimate stretch? What is this stretch going to actually do? How is it going to promote healing? How is it going to promote restoration of different muscles and things like that? It's kind of like a medication statistically is going to work better if you know what it is actually supposed to do in your body. Research would suggest that. So it's similar to that idea. If you know the reasoning why behind your steps in the healing process, it ultimately will lead to them actually working better. It can also lead to greater positive image and just being satisfied with the efforts that brought you through a tough struggle, knowing that, seeing other people have gotten there. Oh, other people got through this injury. I can get through this injury as well. And knowing, hey, you know what? I had this type of injury before. I had a different type of injury before, and I came back better than ever. That's another kind of helpful aspect of healing imagery. This is the more relaxing of all the imageries. This is where you want to listen to more like soothing music during this time. The most relaxing out of the other performance-based mental imagery, the healing imagery, which makes sense, right? For sure.
I think I can do this.
I think you can do it too. It's easier. It's easier than it sounds, I think.
For sure. And with me, it's my Achilles and both Achilles. So it'll be interesting. I have a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I'm going to make healing imagery a big part of recovery.
Maybe you need to talk to Aaron Rodgers.
I might need to
call him up, Kelly.
He'll take my call.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Maybe you're a Bills fan, so maybe not.
Yeah, worth a try.
So Sam, we have about 6 minutes left. I know you had some other important takeaways from imagery, or from the imagery lesson that you shared with us, and other things like journaling and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
See what you can, if you could take us through some of those notes.
Yeah, real quickly, I think important takeaways from imagery. First, you want to visualize specific execution of performance. So in running, again, it's crossing that finish line. It's those strides that you've been working really hard on. So specific execution, whatever that looks like to you, that's what you want to visualize. Imagine those feelings, usually like euphoric feelings of competition. So those feel-good feelings that you get through competition, whether it's race day, whether it's going out for a run, that feeling you get after the run, maybe that runner's high that you feel. You want to imagine those feelings. And then you want to then understand previous successes, saying, I've trained for this, I can do this. So really imagining that. And then taking it a step further, journaling. I got myself a runner's journal, I think 2 Christmases ago, actually. And I really like to keep more of like how far I went and then just kind of be able to look back.
I just lost your audio.
I can still hear her.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Or maybe I'm the one that lost you guys. Can you hear each other?
Yes.
All right, keep going, and I'll see what I did.
Fingers crossed that it'll all work out. But
keep going.
I'll keep going. This is what we have to do. Technical difficulty.
That's right. Journal it later.
Yeah, we'll journal about this later. But actually writing it down, because research suggests actually crossing out written goals can be a really motivational mechanism. But keys to journaling success. The big takeaway here, set measurable, attainable goals. So maybe you want to run a 5K in 25 minutes or less. Maybe you want a pain-free run like we talked about. But your goals should really be based on your own personal journey. Start small and work your way up. Journaling holds you accountable. So when you write it down, you're like, okay, I wrote this down, I got to do it. So it can be helpful with accountability.
For sure. I've been hit or miss with my journaling, but I always find that when I write things down, you look back on it, you think, wow, I actually did this stuff. And for some reason, there's something physical activity of writing
Yeah.
rather than putting it in an app or something
Yes,
like that.
exactly. Exactly.
Um,
That's a big thing to remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes even with goals and people crushing goals, they like to write it down on a piece of paper and crumple it up and throw it out. There's really a therapeutic vibe as far as that goes. So yeah, definitely writing it down, crossing it off, like I did that, is really, really important. And I think really the last thing that I had that I kind of wanted to touch on was something that I touched on before, but I think it's really important, is that we are all at different points in our running journey and in our exercise journey as it is. So no matter where you are, I think that we all have goals, and it's important to have those goals. But again, it may not be about that better time or that longer distance, but finding the goals that works for you and whatever it is. Maybe it's your first goal of you never stop running you don't stop to walk during a run, or maybe you only walk one time. Whatever the goal is, set those and worry about that. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing around you. I think that that's been a really key in my success as a runner, is just kind of focusing on what my goals are, and then having that community really help you to attain those goals and push you to your goals is an ultimate success. So yeah.
I love it. I'm back now, by the way.
Okay,
I
perfect.
somehow lost the microphone and audio, but Sam, I've loved this conversation. I'm thinking we need to have you back on and maybe
I
bring
love
another
that.
runner in and have you,
Yeah.
maybe we can witness this, walk through imagery and stuff.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we could definitely talk all night about this, because
Okay.
I'm intrigued by all of this, because there was part of me like years ago that kind of poo-pooed the whole idea of imagery as like kind of new age nonsense. But now I really feel like I'm embracing a lot of it, especially like as I get into like my racing, like winter season, because you need that mental
Yeah.
peace, especially when it's dark and cold, to say
Yeah.
like, I can get this done.
Exactly. And me
it's-
too, Alex. I was kind of the one that was like, okay, you're crazy when people would talk about this, but it's been really beneficial. And I tell everybody, try it once. That's all it needs.
Yeah,
For
for
sure.
sure.
And thank you for drinking wine with us today.
Yes.
I know we all have it. Cheers. So one real quick, I love it. One real quick plug. We do have our Track Friday event coming up the day after Thanksgiving, turning Black Friday, a day of shopping and pushing and shoving at the stores, into a day of giving and community and health and wellness. So if you are interested in coming to the Irondequoit High School track on the day after Thanksgiving from 8 to 11, we will be there running laps and collecting donations for the Sunset House, which is a local hospice home. And we'll be collecting paper towels and toilet paper and cleaning wipes and things that they use there. So join us for Track Friday. We also have a goals planning workshop coming up. It's a free event on November 14th. We'll be doing it at I-Square at 7:30. So if you're interested in doing that, you can give me an email at runningwithkelly@hotmail.com. And that's it for all of our little advertisements. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. We're definitely going to have you on again.
Yes.
I hope you liked it.
I loved it. I'm so happy to share, all of this stuff with everybody. And I'm more than happy to come back and continue the conversation for sure. Thanks so much for having me and reaching out. I really appreciate it.
We will definitely. I learned a lot, and I was lucky enough to have some notes. So we will put some notes in the comments section and the description on the podcast. And we'll have Sam on again to lead us through some exercises, and maybe we'll ask one of our listeners to join us. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That would be great.
Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast and today's subject of mental health and running. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, like it, share it with all of your friends so we can get more listeners. And as always, happy running.